15 degrees, you can see your breath. Out here in the lake effect, breaking tables like it's poetry. Where else would you rather be? Pinto, Ron, Elvis, and the lay poncho. The members that you need to know. 'Cause once you out here now, your family. Where else would you rather be? Where else would you rather be?
Welcome into the Nickel City Crew. I am your host, Rob Crippen. Please like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Nickel City Crew. This episode, along with all of our episodes, are presented by Crippen Legacy Entertainment here on Spreaker and StreamYard. We're so glad that you're joining us for some of your Buffalo Bills and NFL content again today. And as always, these are my Bills thoughts said out loud.
It's a vibe so ridiculous. Since 12 plus 83 was 6. The shout rocking like a symphony. Where else would you rather be?
All right, let's get straight to it. I am so excited to be back tonight and for tonight's episode. I know I received a couple different text messages from the crew, and it really made me feel good because it means that you guys listen. It means that you guys are engaged, and we really appreciate that here. I know my co-host does as well, and they were, where are you guys at? What's going on? I mean, I was a little bit under the weather. I know my co-host was a little bit more under the weather than me, and it kind of got down to it where we were trying to figure out if we could do it Friday, if we could do it Sunday morning before the game, and it just didn't work out. And a situation where everybody just wanted to get back to full strength to bring you guys the best quality that we could. So I'm really excited to be back tonight. Joining me as always tonight, my co-host riding shotgun, Adam Dump Truck Rupsick. Check him out on Instagram at Adam Rupsick, RUPCZYK. Holla at the crew, DT. It feels like it's been forever since we've been back on here, man. I know we talk very frequently, but man, I love being right here, sitting in the studio and being with you, man. It's like I just called you my Bill's best friend. Like, I love it, man. So I missed you last week, man. I missed the crew, and I missed interacting with all of the crew listeners. But click clack, we back, DT. What's good, man? Holla at the crew.
We're back. Good to be back. We're good, Rob. We just took a little bit of a bye week ourselves, bye week ourselves. But good to be back, and yeah, let's rock and roll, baby. It feels good. I mean, we're in a decent spot rolling in after huge win that we'll get into tonight, and under the weather, kind of get it out of us, get it away from us so we're good for the holidays. So looking at the positives of that, and I myself received some texts as well, and it was bittersweet because you want to give the people these episodes, and but they're listening. They'll call you out for missing a week, so that's it's a good thing here on the crew. But we back, baby. What's up?
Oh, man, I'm good, DT. I'm back to full strength. You're back to full strength. We're not listed on the injury report, so that's a good thing, man. Listen, Nickel City Crew, Bills Mafia, man, this is cool, man. It's funny because we were talking, DT, like the season, just the ups and the downs. And what was the main thing that I told you in the beginning of the year when we had our Fam Appreciation Week was that I was struggling. Like, I want to skip ahead to the playoffs and stuff like that. Well, this season didn't allow us to do that. And I promised you that I would go along with the ride. And what a roller coaster ride it has been, because the ups and downs of the season with the record and, dumb losses to the Jets and the Patriots have kind of put us in a situation where I was a little bit doom and gloom for a little bit of time, DT. But boy, man, I named the episode, man, just like we got a pulse, man. Like, we are in this thing. As you know, the Bills are victorious on last Sunday. Just to quickly recap, 20-17 over the Kansas City Chiefs in Arrowhead, which is always a great place to go ahead and grab a W. And, now Bills are 3-2, the only team I think that has beaten Mahomes 3 times at home in the regular season since his 10 years since he became the starter. And it was sweet, DT. One thing about it is that when you get to 6-6 and every game is important and you've got to win out or you got to come close to winning out, I don't give a shit about style points or anything like that, and we'll get into that. But I am just so happy that we got a chance to get that W, because we've got a legit shot, DT. I mean, everything is right in front of us, including even possibly sneaking out a chance to steal that AFC East, and we'll get into that as well. But Sunday, man, I mean, as the afternoon set into the evening, DT, like it was nice to see the team come out with a gritty performance, And we'll get into the controversy at the end of the game, which obviously wasn't a controversy, but it was, it was all about the refs at the end of it. But like, boy, it was really good to see the team show up and show out when it was a situation where things could have gone really shitty and it could have gone a different way. And they pulled it out, man. Like, I don't care about style points, DT. I really don't care.
Sure.
It's not a pageant contest, man. I don't care.
What was the Cincinnati mayor calling Joe Burrow last year? They were calling it Burrowhead Stadium.
Burrowhead, yeah.
Because they beat the Chiefs a few times. Well, I mean, granted, the Bills haven't done it, and they've had some of their worst losses in franchise history in that stadium.
Mm-hmm.
But in the regular season, the past 3 years, it's been light work with these dudes. I mean, 2 years ago was a easy, convincing win. With a couple nice defensive plays and a pick six by Micah Hyde. Last year was a hell of a game, coming down to the wire, kind of back and forth, and the battle of the mammoths, the battle of Josh and Pat, and it was, with Josh throwing a great tutty late to Dawson Knox, and then the defense actually making a stop with Taron Johnson on the pick. And this year, kind of a similar story, just a back and forth game of a tale of really two halves. Of the Bills played great in the first half, kind of tapered off in the second, and Kansas City kind of played mediocre the whole time and had a chance at the end there. So great games, and I'm not calling it Allenhead Stadium yet. We haven't won any big games there, but I'm done being scared of them in the regular season out there. It's like, every year we got to go to Kansas City. We got to go and play these guys in Kansas City every year, and we're coming out victorious time in and time out with adversity in all three of those games as well. We were never fully healthy in all three games. We never played it, but the common denominator, 1-7 comes to play when he gets in that stadium, and that's what it was. So was excited to see. We'll take that dub. Yeah, I could give a shit about style points or anything like that now, Rob. I mean, if we were, in a position of the 1 seed and we could really start picking and away from perfection, maybe. But at this point, it's survive and advance, and it's a big survival after Sunday. So we'll take that shit all day.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's funny because that's exactly how Josh described it at the end of the game. You're talking about the the locker room and the post game, and the Bills take you behind the scenes, and he's he brings the team together, and he's just like survive in advance, like what I mean, win on three, 1, 2, 3, win. So it was great to see because of the fact that he really did put on the cape a little bit in that second half, and there was some throws that he made that I just was watching, and I had the Kings with me, and I'm just like, did you see that throw? And like they've got the nice little slow-mos going on the replays, and I'm just like, man, like the one where he's fading to the sideline and he's just like back against the sideline. He chucks that thing. I'm like, man, I was like, was he out of bounds? Like I was cringing my eyes when I'm looking like, did he step out of bounds or anything like that? And like, nope. And his arm strength, DT, is just ridiculous. Like it just always leads me back to some of the things that you talked about, earlier in the season and then last season when we're lamenting some of the missed opportunities because you don't want to waste this guy like this. He is in his prime right now. He has got everything working for him. I mean, that pass of Kincaid on the 4th down, like it looked like the play was going to be broken. I was like, run for it. Then he didn't want to run for it, and then all of a sudden he cocks it back and makes that wonderful pass. It's so fun to watch him, and it's so fun to watch him go to work because of the fact that he's anything on the field. DT, he can do. You always talk about how he's intoxicating, how he's the best watch in the NFL. And it's just it's such a true statement because of the fact that, I mean, this guy is must-see TV. Everything that he does is it really is amazing when he gets in his little zone and he gets in his little grooves because of the fact that he's just unstoppable, man. When he's in his groove and he's feeling himself, play calls are coming in the right way. I don't think that there's anything that he can't do. Whether it's on structure, whether it's off structure, and he's got to create outside of the structure of the play. 17 can do it all, DT. Like if there's anything else that Bills Mafia needs to see, I'm sure that they don't. He proves it week in and week out, especially in those big high leverage situations where we need to play. Josh Allen's got our back, man. Like I love our quarterback. I really do love our quarterback. I really do.
This is why we've been so mad this year, Rob. In the drought, we go 6-6. The drought, we go 6-6. We're excited. We're mad this year because we know what we have. We know the ammo in the gun, and we're not shooting it. And that's been the most frustrating part. And I spoke on it a few episodes ago about Josh Allen. Is he just a Phillip Rivers or or Carson Wentz? Super talented, has a splash in the pan, and then just never can really do it all. And that's wrong.
You refuse to believe that, though. Yeah,
I refuse to believe that. He is the guy. When we have him, we have a chance to win games no matter what in all situations. The dude barely takes sacks in a team
Mm-hmm.
where if we didn't have Josh Allen, this offensive line would have been overhauled 3 or 4 times by now because, they're not blocking outstanding, and he gets out of everything and puts balls, where they need to go and leads the team. And it's no secret. Obviously, he's the catalyst and the alpha of this team, and when he goes, we go. But yeah, that's why we've been so mad all year, because we know how good and we know what we're wasting. We know the situation at hand,
Yeah.
and 17 comes and balls out, and really since RIP Ken Dorsey, but since Ken Dorsey, he's kind of had that
Mm-hmm.
swagger about him,
Yep.
on back swagger,
We
the on
talked
back
about it.
feel,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
the demon mode of going out and busting your ass. And obviously he knows he has to play that mode the rest of the year for the Bills to be in contention, to have a chance. And
Right.
one week at a time. I loved when he said survive in advance, because that proves to me that mindset of
They're in
him
that
and that
tournament
locker room
mentality.
is, if
Yeah.
we lose, we're done. We lose,
Yep.
we're done. So that hunger is good to know that they have it there, and they're kind of not. They're always taking it 1 week at a time, but they know one loss can ruin it all. So I love hearing that. I love the vibe. I love when he's making those. It's a highlight play after highlight play, especially when he goes into Allenhead Stadium out there and making that toss on his back. 2 previous years were the hurdles, and
Yep.
just getting it done. His touchdown passes were on fleek. Everything was nice. So, like what we see out of 17. Love the mindset of where he's leading this team to go. That we can hope to be a postseason burst. So we'll see.
Yeah, man, it's interesting because I love it, and one of the things I wanted to really point out was the fact that, like, shout out to your boy Jimmy Cooks, man. You talking about Jimmy cooking? Like, listen, James Cook is turning out to be a valuable weapon, and I think that he's going to be
A
somebody
weapon.
that,
Yep.
yeah, I think that he's going to be somebody that's going to be reckoned with if we do sneak into the playoffs, DT, because it seems that Brady, one of the things that he's doing right now is it seems like he's stacking plays in sequence, and I've heard it on WGR, and I totally agree with that moniker, because it's not just calling plays. And sometimes it seemed like Ken Dorsey didn't know what he wanted to do, and he's just like, let's try this, and let's try this, and let's try this. It seems like Brady is he's kind of stacking plays together in a sequence where, okay, I'm going to set him up for this, and I'm going to set him up for this. And James Cook is really been the beneficiary of some of that, because of the fact that he can't be touched out of the backfield. Like, him as a receiving threat is really, really dangerous. He's got speed, he's got hands, he's got the awareness to get into the different gaps and read the play the right way. And that touchdown to start the game off, it was just a thing of beauty. And they talked about it ad nauseum about how Josh saw the coverage, and Joe Brady, thanked Josh and gave him credit, and and then Josh gave Joe Brady credit. But either way, as soon as they saw it was cover zero, boom, right on it, and he knew exactly where to go with the football. They got the flare screen on the outside, and then he just goes right up the seam. And it was just a situation where it was like, man, like this. I like James Cook now. Like, I love his speed, and I just like the fact that he's being used in different ways. We're not just running him in between the tackles or anything like that. And it seems like there's a plan for him, is what I'm really trying to get at. And it seems like Brady knows what he wants to do. He knows how he wants to attack, and James Cook is a part of that attack.
It's kind of like a boxer strategy, and I feel like in the beginning of the year with Dorsey, and last year, we were just throwing strikes at the bag, just throwing haymakers at the bag. And, if one stuck, and if not, it's just another hit on the bag. Here, we're a little more, diabolical, a little more like bang, 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 and so setting things up and getting it rolling. And yeah, I mean, he's a mismatch for anybody. Who has to cover him? They're not bringing a safety or a cornerback down out of the backfield, so it's got to be a linebacker, and he's going to outrun everybody in that card. I like the confidence of him getting into the role. Hopefully, he doesn't fumble on the first play again and then gets benched for 3 quarters. But Jimmy Cook is a good thing for Josh Allen to have in the back, and he's starting to run a little harder. I like him out of the backfield, which we're seeing a little more of, but he's running a lot harder. And what's better confidence when you're averaging 8 yards a carry, and you kind of know, you start to see running backs kind of taking it easy, not taking it easy, but running a little less angry and hard when they're getting stuffed at the line every play. He knows he's getting bursts, and could this one be the 60-yard run? Could this one be the 70-yard run?
Yeah,
and that's kind of in the back of his head, and you see that there. So love Josh getting comfortable with him. He dropped that touchdown in Philly that could have been the difference in the game, and maybe taking that personal and going in, and also going demon mode with Josh the rest of the season to try to have that 1-2 step. So I like the way of the offense is going a lot more strategic as a boxer than just throwing hits at the bag. They're setting it up, throwing the jabs before they throw the haymakers, and it's been successful so far under Brady. So Love it. Love Jimmy Cook, baby.
I know that's your boy, man. Yeah. Now, before we transition, it's the elephant in the room, and everybody, it was obviously the big topic of conversation, and it was all over ESPN and all the major outlets on Monday. The reaction of the Kansas City Chiefs, obviously, Kadarius Toney was offside. Anybody, I saw all the different memes and everybody talking about it, and it was so funny because I think Ross Tucker put out a really good one where he's got Kadarius Toney literally in our secondary on a still shot before the play, and he was like, I don't know what's wrong, and it was obviously a joke. Listen, he was offsides. Everybody knows that. It was a penalty. It was on Kadarius Toney, and it's his responsibility as a wide receiver. Now, I coach football, and you've played football as well, DT, so you know all about it. So when you get to that line of scrimmage, it's on the player. It's incumbent on the player to look at the official, check, see if I'm close, see if I need to get off the ball a little bit more, whatever the case may be. Now, it's a courtesy when they do check, but obviously if you check with the refs, they're going to tell you if you're off or if you need to get back. It is not their responsibility to give you and do your job for you. So because of the fact that Toney never checked, he's way off sides. You could see him on the screen. He was all over the blue, which is unofficial anyway, so that means that he was way over the ball. The fact that Mahomes reacted the way that he did, now I'll give him a little bit of a pass for not trying to attack the official, but I'll give him a little bit of a pass for being heated in the heat of battle. But once the clock hit zeros, I just feel like he acted like a chump, DT. I feel like he acted like a chump with meeting Josh Allen at midfield and then bitching to Josh Allen like Josh Allen had anything to do with it. Now, the next day, after obviously all of the rhetoric comes out and all of the reaction to it comes out, then he obviously on Tuesday, he magically wants to apologize. And, I want to definitely apologize to Josh Allen. And I contacted him. I reached out to him, whatever the case may be. But I thought it was just a bad look for a guy that's got 2 Super Bowl rings, been to 3 Super Bowls. You always get most of the calls. I mean, I was so surprised that other game against Green Bay when they didn't get that pass interference call. I don't think there's any bias in the league or anything like that. But the fact that they always seem to be on the right side of the luck. You know what I mean? So they never really have much to bitch about. They've had so much success. And to see that he acted like that, and then you go see a competitor at midfield, DT, and you don't even really slap him up like that. All you want to do is bitch about the refs. I thought it was poor taste. I thought it was poor sportsmanship. And it was something that it's a teachable moment for the young kids. And it's something that I'll be showing to Nate, because he plays quarterback and different things like that. Attitude reflects leadership. So you got to make sure that you're, winning the right way, and then you lose the right way. It's not Josh Allen's fault that Kadarius Toney didn't check with the ref to get off the line of scrimmage before that final play for Kansas City. And it wasn't even the final play. They had 3 more plays to try to go ahead and get that field goal. So it really was sour grapes. And I just thought that it was a really bad look. And it was something that I was a little bit disappointed to see, because I expected more from Mahomes. Again, when he was acting a fool on the sideline, trying to go after the ref or he's not going to go and hit the ref or anything like that. But I gave him a little bit of pass to that because that's heated competition. But once the clock's hit 0, man, you lost the game. Go shake the competitor's hand. Let Josh Allen know that, great game. You know what I mean? But he was just bitching to Josh. And I thought it was really poor taste.
And not even a competitor. Like, him and Josh are the faces of the league, Rob.
Right.
This is a known rival. Like, you two are the 1A, 1B.
Magic and Bird, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's like, so it's not like you were just going up to Jordan Love or Tommy Touchdowns for that matter, and bitching about, this is Josh Allen.
You're equal. You're equal, damn near.
He demands respect from anybody, and especially you. And being, that face of the NFL, that obviously ticked me off in the way of, the memes are hilarious, though, Josh Allen's face Josh Allen's face when Mahomes is bitching and what the hell, all right. But 2 things on that. The penalty itself, if I'm a Bills fan, I'm probably pissed about this penalty too, right? How many times do you get an offensive offsides call? Never. And
never.
In Andy Reid's coaching era, he's never had an offensive offsides called on him once, so it's not like this is a common thing. And so it could be. But if the ref is calling that, it shows that it's not called a lot.
It's egregious.
So if he's calling that, it shows, it was egregious, or it happened all game, and he probably was like, hey, you probably gave him a few warnings, like, hey, you're lining up a little hot on the line, and then finally at the end he lines up again, and all right,
you gotta throw it.
You gotta throw the flag. So I thought that instantly when it went off, you don't hear a lot of offensive offside. So if they're throwing it, I feel like there was history bringing up to that he was maybe lining up hot, most of the game. So and that's the penalty. It's a penalty. It is what it is. They won the Super Bowl on a call that as well. A tic-tacky, you can't call that type of call. They won the Super Bowl on last year. So I don't feel bad for them. I don't think anybody should.
Hell no.
And, they're the spoiled rich kid, and something doesn't go their way. And, and granted, they don't have a lot of practice with losing or handling this stuff. So,
right.
I'm not giving them a pass, but it's not in character for them to lose. So they don't know how to deal with it. And it was obvious, that night. But I'll watch them bitch for years to come if that means, they start to fall. And, yeah, Pat Mahomes, showed me there that he thinks he's above Josh Allen, and that pissed me off. And hopefully Josh takes that personal too, and kind of puts that in like,
because and it's interesting that you say that about being above him, because what is all this rhetoric and what's all this talk about? The game was over. There's 1:12 left, and we had 3 timeouts. So wait a minute. So 17's going to get the ball back, 3 timeouts. Even if that lateral does work, the game's not over. And Josh Allen didn't have a shitty game or anything like that. It wasn't like the offense was inept or anything like that. Mm-hmm. Again, the first half was better than the second half, but I had confidence. When I saw it go through, I looked at the clock, and I saw 1:12, and I was like, okay, Josh is going to get a chance to answer this, and hopefully we don't give them 13 seconds or anything like that to respond. So I had confidence that Josh could come down there and go ahead and get a go-ahead touchdown. So I heard a lot of people saying that the game was over, and that's just simply false. The game was not over, even if the touchdown would have counted. The fact that everybody just assumes that because of that great little Kelsey lateral that the game was over. Like, the game was not over. Josh Allen was going to get the football back with a chance to put his team ahead. So I just didn't like some of the conjecture from it. I didn't like some of the
it showed that, like they had the vibe of like, oh, you losers had no chance of being with us, and now you beat us, so it's a fluke. It's a fluke. And that's just straight
garbage.
Bullshit. So I take it personally. The Bills should take it personally.
Absolutely.
And screw the Chiefs. I've respected Mahomes leading up through and over the past couple of years, especially, I watch majority of the NFL games, but I'm not as in depth, obviously, as when I watch a Bills game. And when you see this dude, like, every play, like, and there's a flag, and he's just got his head tilted and his arm out, like, oh, it's going that way, and like, and then it just pissed me off, like, well before, and then the fourth quarter happens, and it's like, all right, screw
he's definitely begging for calls. He's definitely doing a lot of different stuff. He's got a little Steph Curry.
And every great does that, right? Michael Jordan did it, and LeBron does it, and Peyton and Brady and everybody does that. So it is what it is. I'm not, and Josh should too. Like, Josh sells, roughing the passer calls routinely. Yeah. And so I'm not saying you can't bitch, but to that degree, and then to do it after the game, and then to do it with Josh Allen and act like he's just some other guy, and you're like, oh, fuck. Like, that really pissed me off. So, bygones, whatever, but, it's a penalty. Get over it. You're not as the real problem. Like, it's, you're lashing out at me because you can't lash out at the real problem. The real problem is you're not as good as you were.
Yeah,
so,
I think
I'm not saying Mahomes in general, the team overall.
The receivers been fucking up for them all season long, dropping passes. They've got 33 drop passes, number 1 in the league by a good margin, and obviously there's some frustration setting in because you're absolutely right, DT. They're not used to losing. Now, as we transition, thank you to the Tennessee Titans. I was watching that game on Monday night, and I literally was so mad when the guy, I think he's a rookie or whatever, and he muffs that punt, and I'm like, why did you even touch the punt? And all of a sudden, before you could even blink, it's a 14-point game with 2 minutes, a little bit over 2 minutes left, and I'm just so mad. I'm like, you guys hung tough all night long. Tyreek Hill goes down. They're gifting you this game. They're giving you an opportunity to stay in the game, and you are just giving it back to them. And I was like, I really could have used that win. Now, again, because of the fact that coming into that game, I wasn't expecting Tennessee to win, I could only get so mad. But I was more upset at the fact that they hung around all game long. I had sat there, watched the entire game, and I was like, man, you guys are going to give it away like this at the very end. And 14 points, I think they said, DT, it's like the first time in like 40 years that a team lost.
Never.
It's never happened?
Never. With 3 minutes, or less.
Like 2 minutes, like 2 minutes of change. Okay, so it never happened. That's crazy.
It was 736-0.
Oh my gosh, DT. Thank you to the Tennessee Titans, because I had no idea that they were going to go ahead and pull that game out. And I mean, Miami really, threw up on themselves on that one. And it helps the Bills, DT. I mean, if you look at it with that win, it's right there, DT. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but when you look at the quarterbacks that are remaining for the Bills, and then you look at Miami's schedule, and I had just brought it up. I mean, they've got they've got some quarterbacks to face, and they've got some teams to play. They've got, obviously they've got the Jets coming up, and obviously I don't think that, this whole, Zach Wilson thing is going to continue. But then you got Dallas.
What do you mean? AFC Player of the Week, Rob.
Oh, God. I know. Yeah, him and Jimmy Cutlets. I know those guys. I mean, what is the ham sandwich is going on? I don't know who votes for that shit, because that doesn't make any sense. But I mean, you got Dallas and Dak. You've got Lamar with the Ravens, and then you close out the season with us. So it's not anything easy. And Bills are right there. So I don't necessarily think that the AFC East is something that we can put out of the realm of possibility, but definitely the wild card's right there for us. That's why I named the episode the way that I did. We've definitely got a pulse. I think that we should be able to get into the wild card as long as we don't, throw up on ourselves like Miami did on Monday night. But boy, what a win for Tennessee, man. That was totally unexpected, DT.
Yeah, Will Levis is the wish app version of Josh Allen. He plays like a complete maniac. He has no regard for his body. Yeah. He hucks it up. He runs through people.
He's jacked.
Jumps over it. He's the wish app version of Josh Allen. So I love that energy. I love the vibe there.
Oh, he's wild, man.
What a win in a team that the Dolphins are really kind of the past couple of years are feel themselves a little too much, and then they always get knocked back down. And this year was like, oh, is this the time they might actually be what they're behind? And I think Coward said it yesterday. Colin Coward said it yesterday. They're the spray tan of the NFL. They glisten, they look good, but eventually that too many showers and you're pale and pasty again pretty soon. They're a good team. I'm not taking anything away from them. They're top to bottom on all sides of the ball, great, but we needed that. We needed that huge. I mean, you got to think they rebound against the Jets this week.
Sure.
Take care of them, and then the Ravens Cowboys
Dallas
sequence,
Ravens and us. That's no easy gauntlet.
Where the Ravens got to play the 49ers coming up. They got to play. The Ravens got some tough games, so it's not like they're going to be just coasting into that one seed. They still got to earn that one seed in the AFC, so they're going to be playing hard in that game. And Dallas is obviously in a battle for that, for the division with Philly and the seed of, with the 49ers now creeping up and getting back on a roll. So both the Ravens and the Cowboys, you're going to run into, buzzsaws of those dudes are playing for their lives and their livelihoods of that one as well. So it's not going to be any easy games leading up to that. And now we just need one. In the figurative before, it was they need to lose to the Cowboys, lose to the Ravens, and then we have that chance, against them. And now we just need one. If we can figure out a way to get by the Cowboys this week, Rob, like I texted you this week, like we got a pulse. If we can beat the Cowboys this week, we're gonna sit up like the Undertaker. We're back to the pulse. Like it's live. So it's still got to take care of business. Still got to take it a week at a time, but. The Dolphins showed, that they're not as Superman as they looked, and if Tyreek Hill's not in the game, they suck.
And that's what I was going to say, because that's the one thing that I noticed, and it jumped off the screen when I was watching Monday night. As soon as Tyreek Hill went out, it just seemed like the offense was different. Tua was holding the ball longer. He was more indecisive. And then that's when the sacks started to pile up for Tennessee and things like that. The pressure started to pile up. He didn't throw any picks or anything like that, but it just seemed like he's more uncomfortable. I mean, everything about their offense with Mike McDaniel, and I love Mike McDaniel. That's my guilty pleasure. As I do love him as a coach, and I wish he was our coach because of the fact that his mind and the way that he works. But everything is timing. Everything is rhythm. Everything is scheduled. Everything, the Brock Purdy debate is Brock Purdy a system quarterback, and he's up for the MVP and stuff like that. He's got all these weapons. The same thing I feel about Tua. Tua's a good quarterback, but when you take away some of his weapons, he's just a kind of a guy. He doesn't have the strongest arm. He's very accurate, but everything for their offense, the way that Mike McDaniel had it set up, DT, is timing, rhythm based, on time, spaces, gaps, leverage, 15-yard out, and this route, and then the motions and different things like that they create stress on a defense. When you take away the cheetah, there's just less stress. I mean, there's no way around it. So it jumped off the screen to me when I was watching the game, and I couldn't ignore it. I was like, wow, they look a little bit different without Tyreek Hill. So it'll be interesting to watch his ankle and to monitor that situation these next couple of weeks, because they did not look like the same team without him, for sure.
Yeah, not at all. And so if he's limited and going up, that could set up nice. But that happened. We got our break. We'll worry about their break after the Jets game. If they lose to the Jets, that's just another break. But, I think we already had our break. We'll have to wait now until they play the Ravens and the Cowboys to see how that shapes out. But we got to take care of our business now.
Well, as we transition, speaking of taking care of business, boy, this is going to feel like a playoff game on Sunday, DT. The Bills battle the Dallas Cowboys, one of our most hated rivals, the guys that made me cry like a little baby at 7 and 8 years old. I mean, 52-17, I was so mad. And then the next year, I really thought that we were going to win. We were up 13-3 at half, and it just didn't work out in those Super Bowls. Boy, this is a big game. It's going to feel like a big game. For the fans, I know for sure the Ralph is going to be rocking. DT, it doesn't get much bigger than this. Dallas they look great, man. There's nothing I can take away from it. As much as I can't stand Dallas, much as I can't stand that damn star, they look like a truck right now. They look better than Philly. They look just as good as you know, San Francisco. I know San Francisco waxed them, but that was earlier in the year. Dak is not turning over the ball. Their offense scores 30 points. It seems like every damn week, and their defense is ferocious. Like this is probably the best opponent that you're gonna face this year. I know that the Eagles were a formidable opponent. We had that game. We should have won that game. We've already lamented over that. They look like the real deal. The best thing about it is that they're coming into Orchard Park. It's going to be a cold night, so that should help us out a little bit. The atmosphere is going to be real raucous, but this is no slouch. This is probably the best team that you're facing on the calendar all season.
Yeah. There's no doubt about it. I mean, top to bottom, their 53 is nice. Everywhere you look, I mean, they have all pro type caliber players, and they can make you pay, and they've made teams pay all year. But that reverse psychology of, just like you said, they are looking great. They are looking like a train that can't be stopped. They just came off 3 straight home games, with the great Thanksgiving layup to them. They don't put them against the Bills anymore on Thanksgiving because they saw how that worked out. And, so it's been real cushy for them the past couple weeks. And they've been blowing teams out, and everyone's saying, oh, this could be the year. This could be the year. But in reality, the Cowboys are no better than the Los Angeles Chargers, Rob. The talent is everywhere, and they always find ways to to fuck it up. So
yeah, they do.
In this case, they're coming real cushy. They're coming real comfortable. They got to come up to the Ralph and with the pulse back on, with the people sitting back up like the Undertaker.
Yes.
The vibe is back, like the excitement is back. Now
game.
We know, and especially after Miami losing, it's even a bigger game for us. It's going to be loud in there. It's going to be nice. It's going to be a nice day. It's not going to be Dallas weather, but it's looking like mid-40s with the sun out until it drops.
Right.
So, it's
still not that cold in the star.
Exactly. It'd be a little uncomfortable. They're not sleeping in their bed, as we always talk about, and they're going to hear the Mafia, because the Mafia, one, the history of people getting brutalized by them in the Super Bowl era, and 2, the current state of we need this win more than them. So it's going to be a good one to be at. It's going to be a good vibe overall, and it just sets up for not a trap game per se, but it's been real cushy and easy for the Cowboys. Now they're going to come and they're going to get some punches back. We'll see if they can, if they stay in the ring or they falter. So I'm pumped.
Yeah, no, it's going to be.
This game has never met anything. The in Buffalo at least. The Thanksgiving game was the last big Dallas game.
Right.
We can remember there. But then when they played here 8 years ago, I think it was like Kellen Moore and just bullshit. Wet rain.
Before that, it was the Tony Romo game with the 5 picks. And I was at that game. That was horrible. So there was never any stakes.
So now this is the ball game. This is a ball game, Rob.
Yeah, it definitely is a ball game. I remember that. I remember the game you're talking about with Kellen Moore, and then I remember even before that when they came on a Monday Night Football game, and Tony Romo throws 5 picks, and they still win the game on the last second. Nick Folk, I think it was the kicker back then, field goal, and it was just crushing. But the stakes weren't alive, and that was during the drought. So it's totally different vibes. The stadium will be rocking on Sunday afternoon going into the night, and I expect nothing less from Bills Mafia than to try to make it hard on Dak Prescott. They've got a great offensive line. We talked about that. They've got a great offense in general, and it'll be interesting. Now, one of the things that's going to be real important for the team is that we got to have that Miami mentality, I think, DT. That Miami mentality from the first game where it's got to be go, go, go. It's got to be a situation where you want to put your foot on the gas and never let it off. One of the most impressive things I thought, and we talked about it back then from that Miami game, was that they never took their foot off the gas. Now, obviously, you're not going to score 31 points in the first half every game or anything like that, but the fact that they were always they seem to know, and even all the way up to McDermott, they seem to know that that game was going to require points, and they played like it. They coached like it from kickoff. They coached like they knew that they were going to have to score points. I think it's the same exact mentality this week coming up on Sunday. You're going to have to score points with these guys. I don't expect the defense to just clamp these guys down, CeeDee Lamb and all the other different weapons that they have. You're going to have to score points on the offense, and I would like to see that mindset from right from the jump. Go out, go score points. It doesn't matter if you get the ball first or not, but go score points and never, ever let your foot off the gas, just like you did in that Miami game back in the beginning of the year. Because I think that every point is going to be needed in this one.
It's got to be the same. And with the injury, we didn't have the injuries we had now that we did in the, so it's. I'm saying, we have more. We had a lot healthier squad in that
absolutely
Miami game in that Miami
game. Yep,
and so it's going to be a test on the defensive side of the ball. But to dig in a little to them, their weak point on their team would be their linebackers. Their D-backs are solid. Their rush is solid, but their linebackers are probably their weak point. Well, who's emerging for us? We just talked about him earlier in the show, Jimmy Cook. Jimmy Cook against this low-end linebackers, a couple tight end, Kincaid and Knox against these linebackers. That's, I think, where we got to see some success out of there. Because, it's got to be points. It's got to be big. I mean, the spread, I think it's 50.5 is the over-under, with the Bills at a 2.5-point favorite.
Yes.
So, they're anticipating this score to be 27-24. We might see it a little higher, and but it just proves that coming off a 20-point, you can't have 3 touchdowns against the Chiefs. Now the line is moved to they're expecting you to have 4 touchdowns easily in a game against this Dallas Cowboys team. So it's no mystery that it's got to be a lot of points. I like that analogy of being like the Miami game and kind of coming out guns blazing and rocking and rolling, because the defense plays better that way. We talked about it. They always play better with the lead. They this and that and everything in between. So a lot of points need to be scored. I don't think I have trust in NRD from what they are. I'm not saying we shut them down, but I think we can hold them under 30. I don't think it's going to be a 30 there, but if we get to 30, we should have a pretty good chance of winning this one.
Okay, it'll be interesting, because one of the things that can stop you from getting to 30 is that motherfucker on the other side of the football, number 11. Micah Parsons is a problem. Oh my God, DT.
Yeah,
I saw him make Lane Johnson look bad, and Lane Johnson is arguably the best right tackle in the league and a grown man, and he made him look bad at certain times in that Philly game. Micah Parsons, the way he plays football reminds me of Lawrence Taylor. Now, he is not LT. I do understand, so no disrespect to any Giants fans here in the crew that might be listening and you're dual fans. But, boy, he invokes some of those same type of thoughts when I see that man play football. He is ferocious. He never stops. His motor doesn't stop. You always talk about Max Crosby and these guys and Aiden Hutchinson. They never – listen, Parsons is on another level from those guys. And JJ Watt, they talk about TJ Watt and stuff. Parsons is on another tier. He is not their equal. He is not their peer. This guy can wreck your entire game if you let him. And even if you try not to let him, he can wreck your entire game. So Dawkins and Spencer Brown, because they like to move him around, they have better be on their P's and Q's. And you better give a chip every now and then, because he literally can wreck your whole offense. And it's not hyperbole or anything like that. He's the only guy I've ever watched that reminded me of LT. I love Bruce Smith, the all-time sack leader. Our guy, Bruce, is probably my number one favorite, Bill, him or Thurman. But this guy, Micah, is so fast, quick. He looks like LT out there, man. He looks like LT light. I swear to God, I've never seen anybody like him.
Super scary. I mean,
I've never seen anybody like him.
Dawkins and Spencer Brown better be eating like saltines and chicken noodle soup all week, because like their stomachs can't be feeling good. They
better go to church too.
That is not something you want to be looking forward to as an offensive lineman. And I spoke about it a few times in my playing career. Like you always knew that badass on the other team
when the dude is coming,
just
when
wreck
that dude is coming,
and it was just going to be a horrible day for you, all day long. And it's like Stephon Diggs on the other side of the ball, like obviously he's not hitting people or anything like that, but
I know what you mean. No, he's always coming at you. Always coming at you.
Every play is 150%.
Yeah,
and that dude is a game breaker coming at you. Kind of even more so than Aaron Donald. Over the past couple of years, he was like the best player in the league, and this and that, and. I mean, I'm more scared of Micah Parsons, like in that type of prime, and I do not want to be Spencer Brown or Deion Dawkins.
on
this week.
Sunday. It's tough, man. It's a tough matchup.
Yeah.
I know that
he's
you
a
like.
Penn State boy. He's a Penn State boy.
Yeah,
So
he's a
up
Nittany Lion.
northeast, he ain't afraid to play a little cold, play a little dirty, and get it rolling. And who? I mean, you're going up. He respects Josh Allen as one of the best quarterbacks in the league.
Mm-hmm.
As a pass rusher, this is the biggest trophy you could have.
Right.
Is get the better of one of the best quarterbacks in the league. So
absolutely,
he's chomping at the bit just as much as anybody to get out there and wreck our world up on Sunday. So. I do not, I've been critical of Dawkins.
Look like you're sweating right now, DT.
Yeah, man, dude, I do not want to mess with that cat.
No, man, he is something else. He is a problem for sure. Just watching him play the game. It's just interesting because you never not notice him. And I think that's one of the marks of a great player is when he can put his imprint on a game, whether he gets a sack or not, but creating pressures, making the quarterback move off of his platform, different things like that. He's got it all in spades. So it'll be really interesting to watch. Now, as we begin to wrap up, DT, we missed last week, so we're not trying to dig up old bones or anything like that, but we've got to give some thoughts on the Ty Dunn thing. And it's funny because before we get to Ty Dunn, I had already thought it before the piece came out, DT. I had already put in my notes before we got sick and we weren't able to go last week. I had already had in my notes that, well, DT, you were right. And the reason I said that is because when Tim Graham came out with that report after the whole McDermott thing, like, hey, listen, there's Bills fans, you guys could yell, but I'm hearing from multiple sources within the Pegula circle that he's not even thinking about it, and that he loves the stability, and he loves the professionalism and all the different winning that Sean McDermott has done. And once I heard that, what did we talk about that entire episode the last time we were on? Was that we need Dad to hear us in the back of the car yelling and so he can pull the car over. Well, it seems like we're just yelling into the wind because the only person that matters in that decision at the end of the day is Terry Pegula and Kim Pegula. So I was interested to see, and it was crazy when it came out so fast because we had just come out with the episode and everybody's really talking about McDermott and when everybody's really mad about the end of the game and the Philly game in the 22nd kneel down. And it came out like right away that next day on Monday that, listen, Pegula's not into it. And I just thought of you, DT, and it was like, wow, DT has been right for over a year that Terry Pegula, our owner, our quote unquote Bill's dad, is okay with being okay. Now, that doesn't mean that he doesn't want to win. There is a difference, but it does mean that he is afraid to go after greatness. And what I mean, and I can explain that because you were on it, DT, over a year ago. What that means, Nickel City Crew, Bills Mafia, is that, of course, if you fire McDermott, you don't know what the next coach is going to be. Of course, you don't know if you're going to get, a Shane Steichen. You don't know if you're going to get a complete buffoon like a Josh McDaniels. You don't know if you're going to get the next, Bill Belichick, or if it's on the offensive side of the ball, Sean McVay. My point is that you have to be willing to try, because if you're not willing to try, nothing changes. So if you just stay in the same situation, nothing is going to change. It's going to be the exact same. And that's really how I feel about McDermott. And I was hoping that after all of the cumulative gripes that we gave Pegula and that we were screaming in the backseat to Dad, that he would at least take a look and take a deeper look into it and have an opportunity to kind of take a step back and say, well, do I want to go after something? And it seems like Pegula is scared to go after greatness because of the fact that he is okay with it being calm right now. Please don't talk about my hockey team, because my hockey team's going through the longest drought in professional sports, or at least in hockey. I know at least in hockey right now, they're the longest at 11 years. And okay, everybody be calm. We've got a great coach. We win a lot of games. We don't want to upset the apple cart. I don't want to go out there and then get a shitty coach. Then you guys are going to be really mad that I got a shitty coach. My thing is that go try something different. Go to the offensive side of the football. Go try something different, DT. It is clear to me when that report came out, before we get to Ty Dunn, Tim Graham came out with like the next day, DT, that he's not interested. And these were sources, I guess 4 sources, well-placed within the organization, well-placed within Pegula's circle. And we talked about it in an episode. I don't know what a billionaire's life is like. I don't know who he listens to. If he listens to Jesse Pegula, if he listens to his wife. It was very clear when that report came out right after that. He wanted us to know, Bills Mafia, Nickel City Crew, I'm not changing the coach. I'm very happy with what I got. And that just seems it just seems like he's very content.
Yeah. I mean, and you see it you can see it a lot clearer with the Sabres right now, Rob.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of took them over first, and he was a hockey guy.
Yes.
He had the hockey background and at Penn State and the oil and all that all that stuff. And
said the mission was the only mission of the Sabres was to win the Stanley Cup. That's the only reason for existence.
and they haven't even sniffed the playoffs until last year, you know. So it's that you see it a lot more clear on the Sabres side of things,
Yeah.
you know, somewhere where it looked like he wasn't just a hands-off billionaire. He had his hand in it, you know. He had passion for hockey, he had passion for the city of Buffalo and the team and everything.
Right.
And you know, you kind of see how it's rolled out, and there hasn't been any risk really taken. There hasn't been any, you know, anything, you know, to move the meter and make it happen. It's just been comfortable and enough to youngest team in the league that's just good enough. And they aren't good enough because they're not making the playoffs. On the other side, I think, you know, if we didn't get Josh Allen, the same shit would have been happening on the football side of things. You know, like if we didn't have 1-7, they would have been, you know, 9-8, barely maybe making the playoffs here and there, and you know, some BS quarterback, and you know, it's good enough, and it's good enough. And he kind of, you know, the other side of the coin was flipped.
I mean, Marone was going to be the coach until Marone quit. That's what made him hire Rex Ryan. I mean, Marone quit.
Yep. And so to come in and, you know, if we didn't have Josh Allen and didn't have all these crazy seasons, you know, behind us, it would have been, I think, as similar as it is to the Sabres. So I'll stick to it. You know, thanks for giving me props a year later. I appreciate that. It's a tough thing I don't want to be right about. You know, I'm not an owner like, you know, with this type of money. It's not like this is some new age owner either. This dude's got Jerry Jones money. This dude has the money with the best of them. You know, it's not like he just got this team. Like he's stacked up. And then, you know, the tax issues with the new stadium and how people are going to pay for it in New York and all this and back and forth, and it just seems like he
just wants to
is
coast
in enough,
but
not in the in the right lane of the highway, going 71 miles an hour and not changing no matter what. So hopefully that's not the, you know, we start to. I think there's definitely a little more push and boost in the football side of things because it is the biggest entertainment business in the world, and the fans are passionate. And now you gave the fans a little taste of the good stuff. And, you know, you're building a new stadium and all this other stuff that you can kind of overlook on the hockey side of things is going to get a lot more serious on the football side of things. And you think it's tough to, you know, fill a 17,000 seat arena for the Sabres. You build this new stadium and you're charging people $10,000 a pop for a personal seat licensing fee, and you're not putting product on the field. You're going to see real quick. I mean, the Bills weren't on TV for 20 years because it was blacked out because nobody went to the games, Rob. So, you know, it can flip real quick for this cat, and you got to know, like, he's got to know that, like, you can be okay with coasting, but if it gets dark, it's going to get real dark on you real quick. And we saw it this year. I mean, a couple bad losses, and people were losing. We were losing them. Everyone was losing their goddamn. So it's
because of the expectations have raised, you know. And
this isn't like he can get away with it in the NHL. He won't be able to get away with it in the NFL. Is my point. And so I hope something's got to give. Something changes. A ring gets lifted. A parade happens, or you know, we might be in a good with being okay type of situation. Which
it could get dicey, you know, because you continue to waste 17 years, and we talked about that ad nauseum. You continue to waste these great opportunities with him, and all of a sudden the team, you know, the fans, your patrons, your customers are going to be looking at you a little bit sideways because I think that it is very clear. It's not 100%. It's never 100% for anything in life. But I think that a lot of Bills Mafia, a lot of Nickel City crew is sick of McDermott. They're sick of the conservative nature. They're sick of the kneeling. They're sick of the passive aggressive. They're sick of the timeouts before, or, you know, snapshots on defense and wasting those away. They're sick of a lot of different things that he does, his tendencies that he continuously goes back to. That might be rubbing some people the wrong way. So you might just want to pay attention to what, you know, the kids that's screaming in the back. That's all. You don't have to pull over the car. You're driving, it's your car, but you might want to pay attention a little bit before all of a sudden, you know, we're tearing shit up in the back seat. And like you said, I mean, you know, the new stadium is coming, and it is a big deal. And I know that it's a big investment for them, but it's a big investment for us as well. I mean, I'm a season ticket holder since 2009. I mean, pretty soon I'm going to have to make a big decision on the Bills. I'm going to have to make a big decision on how much do I want to follow this team in that respect. I can sit here in Charlotte and watch the games, or go to a bar, or sit in my house and cook some wings up with my family. I can do that just as easy as going to the game. So, and don't tell the people in Western New York what to do with their money, because they've got, you know, a lot of different things that they could do with their money. So it'll be interesting when you're asking for more money, more commitment from your customers. You better have the pulse of what they want. And if McDermott ever runs out of runway, then maybe Dad might want to think about pulling over the car. Now, as we wrap up tonight on that same note, DT, I know you and I went back and forth. We do not argue much. We are Bill's best friends. The Ty Dunn piece, man. Listen, let's get your thoughts on it first, because listen, I read it. And I remember texting you like, how do I get the whole thing? Because everybody's talking about it's 20,000 words, and it wasn't 20,000 on the little website. And then I read the whole thing and paid the little $8. DT, I will say that there's nothing there's no new information in there. Okay, so I understand that. Some of the stuff we didn't know about, but all of this is based on the past. So I'll give you that, because I know a little bit of your position on this argument. But DT, I mean, from the Chad Hall shit to not just the the 9/11 speech, because that's just a dumb decision and a dumb analogy. But I've made dumb analogies before, and so have a lot of other people. I understand that maybe he was trying to make a point. It was a horrible analogy to use for effective communication. But listen, DT, this guy he's wound tight like a Timex, and I've always said that, and I've said he's a tight ass. And everything that I read it and everything I thought about Sean McDermott was true. It reinforced what I already thought about him. So I know that you have some differing opinions on it, but it didn't make me like him anymore, for sure. And I understand that it was strategic in respects to when it was dropped. But you had some interesting thoughts on it, because you called it, I think you called it a hit piece. And I've heard that I've heard that circulating around Western York, WGR, and I don't necessarily agree. So please give Nicholson and crew your thoughts, because we don't disagree too often on stuff like this. But
sure,
I love the piece, and I was happy to hear some shit that I didn't know, even though it was the past. It confirmed what I already thought about this guy. And this guy's wound like a Timex, man. He wants to control everything from what you're eating to where you're going to when you're going to the bathroom.
Sure. And I agree. I agree with that. And we've been talking about that. And and my main point on this, I didn't need the 30,000 words to get me to get rid of McDermott.
Okay.
I didn't need the 30,000 for that to happen. And you said it best. So you got to split it into two things.
Okay.
The McDermott side and the Ty Dunn side. The Ty Dunn side, I thought it was cheap. I thought this dude just picked the low-hanging fruit, and is trying to make it media like us.
He talked to 25 people.
Like us, we're out here, we're making media, we're making rolling. But you just said it. You paid the $8. I paid the $8. A lot of motherfuckers paid the $8 and read this article.
It is a hustle.
And it was like, all right, all this stuff. He's a hard ass. He's a head coach in the NFL.
Okay.
If there was pieces like this done on every single coach in the NFL,
okay, I'm
not saying they would be exactly the same, but they're obviously, you have to get to that level.
Have
you
an
have
ego.
To have some sort of
for sure.
My high school coach loved him to death, but he was a crazy motherfucker, Rob. Like he was just, he was strict and this and that, and like football militant, and like all the time. And obviously stuff like that happens at the NFL level. Obviously when the stakes are the highest and the pressure is the highest, that stuff happens. I'm not justifying him. Saying anything he did in this article was like, oh, that wasn't that bad. But like, it was just all showing.
What bothered you though? What bothered you was that you didn't need to know? Because
what bothered me was it was cheap. Yeah, I thought it was cheap. I thought he gave these people, like, he gathered up a bunch of anonymous people that don't work for the Bills anymore or whatever, and
they play as coaches. They either work for McDermott or with him.
Yeah, I mean, they got shit about the old boss. You could, at any company, anywhere, you get 20 people and line them up that used to work at the company and say, you're anonymous. You can say whatever you want about your old boss, and they'll never know. You'd get similar stuff, right?
Okay.
And so that's what I kind of thought. Like, it was just like, it was this dude kind of played into the opportunity that he knew the mafia would jump on this, like hotcakes and run like wildfire. And that's exactly what happened. So, I mean, I guess good for him because he took advantage of a situation for his game, but the product he put out didn't do it for me. I mean, like, these stories were like, they just felt cheap to me. They just felt like
the Chad Hall didn't get you, that didn't make you mad.
Yeah, I mean,
the Chad Hall
that
truck
was more, whatever. Like, I get that, but I can get over that. And really, what I saw, like, the main components of this team, are still on this team and still have the back of their coach.
They sure do.
He's a good coach or he's a bad coach. They still have his back, so that speaks to who he is, I think, overall. I think this would be a little louder if it was all the way in the direction of Ty Dunn. I think it'd be louder with the voices on this team, with the guys who have won Super Bowls in this league, Von Miller, and guys like this on our team that literally not idolized Sean McDermott, but came here believing in him. I think you can find shit to talk about any boss, anywhere, anytime, from any company, but in this case, it just felt like it wasn't needed and was a little cheap, and it was a little kind of BS of what it was.
I mean, to
but
your
I didn't
point,
need it to know. I agree with everything. I'm not saying anything in that article wasn't true. I'm not saying I don't believe anything in that article.
I think he did his
but
research.
I just think I didn't need it. It felt cheap. It felt a little like take the low hanging fruit to bash somebody that everybody was already bashing.
Already mad at.
Everyone's kicking him while he's down. You come in and threw the chair down on top of him. Like it just wasn't necessary. I thought, and as a fellow media member, like we are trying to make it in this world, like you look at it, like now. Why is it so hard to get a player to talk, and stuff like that, like on your show, and get them for a 5-minute interview? And we'd only be doing good stuff and praising these guys. But now you got dudes out here in the media doing stuff like that. And it's just like, all right, like I'm not talking to anybody, it kind of hurts. I felt that too, of like, it hurts our brand as like, younger media outlets of like, we're realistic with our situation, but in 2 or 3 years, we've grown exponentially in our delivery, in our following, and in everything. And we're trying to make it too. Like, obviously a dream of ours would be to go big in this, right, Rob? Like you want to do that. Like, but stuff like that kind of takes us back a step, because it kind of shows how JV it could be, and JV, like, there was it wasn't it wasn't a journalistic article. Like, it was just people talking shit about Sean McDermott. It wasn't any cited situations and like give and take and both sides of the story or anything like that. So I just didn't need it. And everybody was I just was trying to hold the fire, like, of everyone, like, oh my God, like, no, like, relax. We already knew this. Let's take it easy and don't give into it. But I paid the $8 and read all 30,000 words, so whatever.
Yeah, 20,000 words. No, he got me too. I mean, if it was trying to get his little hustle on, and I mean, you are right about that part. I mean, we were coming off the Philly game, so this was the perfect time to drop something like this, because we were all foaming at the mouth for him anyway. So I definitely think that it was strategically released, for sure. And to your point, Sal Capaccio said it, right after, before leading up to Kansas City game, and then afterwards, that everybody's like, we got his back. We respect him. You know what I mean? We're here for him. We're going to be, and it can galvanize the team and different things like that. And then post game, everybody, you heard Brandon Beane. I mean, it meant something in that locker room. So that kind of speaks to your point. I heard Micah Hyde speaking about it. It meant something to them in respects to the fact that they do have his back. I will give you that. I think that I can't stand McDermott so much that it was more of like a pig just rolling in the mud. So I kind of ate that up because of the fact that I already don't like him, and I already think a lot of the things about him are faulty and kind of a little bit false, and just a little bit of I call him a fraud. I mean, I'm not going to back down from what I said a couple weeks ago. So because of that, it was for me. That was my cup of tea. But I totally understand where you're coming from, because the players clearly respect him. They have gone up to, and had his back. They said it again after the Kansas City game, and then you hear Brandon Beane in that locker room giving him the game ball and dropping F-bombs. I mean, they definitely used it as a tool to galvanize them leading into that Kansas City game. So, if anything, to say nothing less, they definitely do have respect for him, for sure. The guys that are still there, they definitely have some respect for him.
And then maybe there was a little jealousy on my part with this too, Rob. Right? Like, I'll tell you a little story. So in high school basketball, senior year. Okay. I prided myself as, I'm a role player. I wasn't scoring 30 a night or anything like that, but I pride myself as being a leader of the team and being a pride leader and, getting everybody pumped up and doing that. And so I want to be the captain of every team I was on. And I was, except for senior year in basketball. The coach, gave us a big talk about, stepping up and what we needed to do and be leaders and everything like that. Mm-hmm. Couple drills later, we're lackadaisical, missing plays, missing drills, whatever. One of the other guys on the team says, all right, stopping the drill. We're getting on the line and we're running, we're running. And everyone knew, like,
that why he was doing it.
we had to run. And he was only doing it because the coach just said something like 20 minutes ago
Kiss ass
about, and then at the end of that practice, we have the vote for captains, and this dude becomes the captain because of that. And it's just like, so it just felt something similar to that, if you can follow that analogy of like,
I do, yes.
We've been on this McDermott criticism. You and me have been on this McDermott criticism. We've been the most critical of anybody. When it's been all roses, we've been critical, talking about the breadcrumbs, talking about the truth in this. And then
for
somebody
years.
lays this cheap bombshell article, and it's like, he's discovered that McDermott did all this. Like, I don't know. Like, that's why it was that brought back that day in basketball practice.
I follow you.
Put us on the line, and he was awarded the captainship when it was just cheap.
Yeah, I can follow you on that analogy for sure, because I was a team captain and I won the coaches award, different things like that. So I totally understand back at Start Point. I'm with you on that for sure. I understand the cheapness of it. So we'll leave it at that. I mean, Bill's Mafia. If you got a chance to read it, then read it. If you didn't pay the $8, don't pay the $8. You can go to Go Long TD. He's got a little abbreviated version. Don't give him any more money, I guess, on behalf of DT and Nickel City Crew. He's made enough for sure, because I heard him on Colin Cowherd. He's making his rounds. So he's definitely gotten fat off of this for sure.
Calling people,
and I definitely there was a twinge of that too, because I was like, well, I've been his harshest critic for years, and I've known it, and that's kind of what that last episode that we did, was when I called him a fraud. I was like, I've been on his trail, I've been on his ass. So like, this is the guy that I knew that he was. So maybe it was, again, just me being a little bit indulgent and kind of rolling in the mud. But yes, I can go with you on that, DT. I got you. Now, Sunday, man, it'll be interesting. The Nickel City Crew Tailgate Report, again, presented by 26 Shirts here on Buffalo Fanbase. Again, the Bills Mafia Podcast Network. Head on over to 26shirts.com. They've got some new themes that are up there, and I checked them out the other day. They're really cool. Again, every single purchase, they're going to actually support a great cause. So you definitely get on to 26shirts.com. DT, I didn't do much. We and you were under the weather last week, so I just watched the games with my Kings on Sunday. This week I'll be out. I'm not going to make it up, but I will make it up for the Patriots game. But this week I'm gonna lay low, get back to 100%, make sure I'm 100%. We got Christmas coming up soon, so I'm going to lay low this week. But what's the plans, man? How did you consume the game, and what's your plans for Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, similar on that Sunday, was down and out a little bit, so just took advantage of my bachelor pad, if you will, and the multiple screen viewership, and made it happen. My roommate Zach, who was on for the Broncos episode, he had a big one against the Chargers at the same time. So it was we had the two screens going, two games going, and it's success on both ends. So that was positive, and just taking it in that way. No good food or anything like that. I will say, the wine is, so 2 years ago when we were 7-6, it was after, I forget which game it was, but it was after the holidays.
Okay.
And one of the buses that was tailgating had a bunch of leftover wine from a holiday party.
Okay.
So started drinking the wine, and then the Bills went on their massive run until the 13-second game.
Right.
And I was like, oh, well, it was a joke, but it was like, instead of beer, rum, or whatever we're going to drink today, we're just going to drink wine. Not a tailgate drink, nothing like that, but drink wine. So that happens. It goes all the way up to 13 seconds. We're drinking wine every game, ready to go for that. And 6-6 happens. And my boys that were doing that with me are like, "Is it
break out the wine?
Reverse the wine court? Reverse the wine curse?"
Yeah.
So I could only have a little bit, obviously Sunday, but the boys went heavy with it, with a couple bottles apiece to their head, and the wine's back.
All right,
wine curse is back. So
that's what's up.
Sunday.
3:30 Linden.
I'm gonna make a run back at. We'll be out there with Big Ben, Anna Kay. The whole squad's gonna be out there, and
that's what's up.
We'll get after it on Sunday, ready to go. Get after these Cowboys, and I'll have a nice bottle of rosé or Sauvignon Blanc with me.
I love it. I love it.
Looking a little different. So
yeah, I love it. I love it.
That's the vibe.
Mix it up, man. I love it, man. I have no problem with reversing curses and all that other good stuff. So I mean, I'm down with it, man. I'm with you in spirit. Again, I'll try to get back up there again for the Patriots game to close the season. Then I'll be watching, man. I'll be right here in Charlotte. I'll have the Zubas on the house, the light lit up. Those afternoon 4:30 games, it gets dark quick, so the house will be nice and lit up with the Zuba print. I love it. I love that projector, and I'm just gonna take it in, man, and just root my ass off, man. Last Sunday was so stressful because I knew how big and important that game was. I'm yelling at the TV the entire game. I'm yelling at everything that's going on. And I was so happy that they pulled out the win. And we were playing the song that, was still alive, ha, 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 staying alive. We were playing that after the game. So we had a great time last week. We'll do the same thing this week. And kind of hang out with the Kings and consume it. And I can't stand Dallas. They're one of my teams that I can't stand the absolute most. I love rooting against them. They're just like the Patriots because it's those scars from Super Bowls 27 and 28. So I've got no problem getting up for those guys and rooting against them. So it'll be good, man. Listen, I really appreciate your time tonight, DT. This is a great episode. It's so great to be back with you, man. Happy that you're feeling healthy again and back off the injury report. Please, as always, man, spread love, not hate out there. Hit them with a Go Bills, baby. Click clack, we back, Nickel City crew. We're not leaving y'all, man. We just had to get back. We had to get some juice in us, get a little vitamin C.
We're back like the Undertaker, baby.
Yeah, man. We have to lift up. I love it.
8-6, Go Bills. 8-6, Go Bills.
I love it. Go Bills. I love it. 8-6.